Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, today we have an excellent opportunity among the very dedicated members of the European Parliament to talk about the recent situation with the hijacking of the Ryanair plane by Lukashenko, diverting it to Minsk, arresting Roman Protasevich and his fiancée, and creating absolutely kind new situation, a risky situation against the civilians who were numerous on the plane. And today, along with this group, we have Karin Karlsbro from Sweden. She is from Renew Europe. We have Sergey Lagodinsky from Greens, Germany. And of course, we have Robert Biedroń, Social Democrats from Poland. So let's start from Karin. Karin, what was your first impression, first reaction when you heard about this event, hijacking of the civilian commercial airplane over Belarus, just 70 kilometers away from Vilnius airport? What came first to your head?
I think we were all very, very shocked about the news. It was almost unrealistic, but it was unfortunately truth. And I described this immediately at this is like state terrorism. It's piracy. This is totally illegal and unacceptable. And I think that Lukashenko yesterday put his threats and attacks on an even higher level.
Right, absolutely. Sergey, so did you believe that the commercial plane might be hijacked and taken as a, hostage over the skies, even above the Belarus?
I mean, knowing Lukashenko, we could have imagined that very inventive things could happen. But of course, I think what we have seen is that Lukashenko has left the club of civilized countries. You know, we used to try to keep Belarus somehow in a kind of on a back to the democracy track, if ever. But now it's not about democracy track; it's about insanity. And what we have witnessed is madness. And the question is, of course, that it's not just analysis of what it was, but it's also a test to all of us, the European Union.
Robert, would you agree, with the assessments of your two distinguished colleagues, that this is something new we've never been before?
Well, it's sure that Lukashenko is building some kind of a state which starts to resemble North Korea in Europe. The way he's managing with the state, the lack not only of legitimacy to rule as a president, but also the terror he feeds among his own citizens shows clearly his goal is to create a quasi-North Korea in Europe. And of course, on Sunday, he crossed another red line. But the question is how many red lines he is to cross that international democratic community will react finally. Because what we see are little actions, lots of words. We heard a lot of declarations that this is not acceptable, that this should not be the way. But then, where are the actions? Where are the strong sanctions? Where is the financial aid? Where is the international donor conference, which we were asking in the report you yourself has prepared for the European Parliament? And we were all voting in favor, and we are waiting for that. Very little has been done. And Belarusian democratic opposition is watching that. And they also themselves, they're becoming more radicalized because they see there is no help from the democratic world. And this is a great disappointment probably to all of us.
Yes, Robert, you are completely right. Karin, let's be back to the reaction from ordinary people. We are politicians. We are used to lots of information and analysis about the situation in Belarus. We know names, we know situations, we know what is going on in that country. But how about the ordinary people? Reading on social media, on internet, what happened with the plane. What do you think the ordinary, average Swede had in mind once he or she saw that piece of information?
Well, I think what happened yesterday really scares people. Maybe you're not interested in politics, not in what's going on on the European scene, but I think most of us we have been traveling through Europe. We have been traveling with Ryanair. We have made a trip with our family and our friends, and we feel safe. But after yesterday, you can't feel safe even in an aircraft. So what happened yesterday, I mean, it was a way also to scare people. And that's why it's so important that we take this seriously and react. We have heard a lot about solidarity, stand with Belarus, but that must now be transferred into actions.
Sergey, I mean, do you believe that those signals which came and a general reaction, I mean, to this event was really hurt in Berlin, and Berlin position, well, on the situation in Belarus will change to some direction, which will lead probably and accumulate more European, more dynamic, more anti and more pro, let's say, democratic opposition side. What's your read from Berlin?
With all due criticism of the government, and I belong to the opposition in Germany, I still think that they were sincerely pro-opposition. I mean, we should be fair to them as well. I think that Berlin's disease is European disease, with some exceptions. We talk much, we are always deeply concerned, but we lack instruments and we lack fantasy, and sometimes we lack courage. To draw the red line and to say that we have to act. And to be honest, even when I see certain reactions which seem decisive and inventive, for example, talking about closing the skies for the Belarus aircraft, or not flying, or recommending not to fly to Belarus, I ask myself whether this is really thought through and whether this would have the effect that we want to. I mean, our goal is not to keep Belarusians for themselves and to cut their way out of the country. There are plenty of Belarusians who need a way out of the country. And of course, it looks very decisive, it looks very, but I think maybe for one day or a couple of days or weeks, this is maybe acceptable, but we need other signals of decisiveness, which would be more effective and faster than what we have seen with Navalny and others, where you have this whole circus of the council asked Borrell to draft, the drafters asked the legal services to check, the legal services. We don't have time. Now it's time for signaling, and the signaling has to be fast and strong.
Crossing many red lines, what happened over the weekend. I think we simply stand before the wall. But that wall is called not just Lukashenko and Putin.
Yes. The key, the main key for solving this problem, of course, and we probably agree, lies in Kremlin, is in Putin's hands. And that's why our perspective should be broader than just Belarus. It's well known that Belarus for a long time is in the sphere of influence of Russian Federation and in Putin's dream to re-establish Soviet Union. So the danger is not only to Belarusians, the danger is to Baltic states, the danger is to Poland, to many countries which used to be in the sphere of influence of Soviet Union and would love to be in the hands of Putin. And that's why projects like Nord Stream 2 and other projects where there is close cooperation on member states on specific issues are somehow also a threat geopolitical threat. And so we should remember that it's not only about Belarus, it's all about Europe and the future of Europe. And united, we are strong. When we are divided and we are doing our own tricky games, our tricky national businesses, then we lose. And it's not only about Nord Stream 2, it's about many businesses, many actions, many credentials given to Lukashenka during diplomacy rituals. This is all about our weaknesses. We are being used by Lukashenka and Putin himself.
I mean, it was not a coincidence, somehow, historically speaking. I mean, the Council of European Union, as of yesterday, 24th of May. Sergey, once reading, I mean, the conclusions of this council, I mean, did you find all the lines, I mean, you thought about before, I mean, concerning the conclusions on Belarus?
When I was reading it, I think that I have a feeling we have exhausted the targeted sanctions options, or we're getting there. We have tried with names, and just adding a couple of new names to the list is not enough, because it doesn't work. And because the civil society who's watching us is fed up. They've had it all. So what I thought was interesting is the emphasis on the economic issues, and even though it says targeted sanctions against companies, it still opens the window to thinking about economic sanctions. Because what we have, and the danger and the special nature of the moment is that now it is not about Lukashenko oppressing his own citizens. So it's not about kind of targeting Lukashenko alone. It's about a country going rogue. And we are now in the realm of international public law, where it is not about individuals anymore, it is about states. Right. States are actors, and states have to become targets of reaction and not just watching the states. So I'm afraid and I'm concerned, but I think it would be logical to think in the direction of economic pressure on the country.
Karin, would you agree with Sergey that, I mean, the text might be, I mean, accepted as a good one, I mean, as a straightforward, something new in it, but is it enough?
Well, I totally agree that firstly, we need a strong Europe. We need a strong statement that we are united, and we have to see the whole picture. And as you say, the sanctions must hit the structure, not only individuals, and also hit the pockets, because this is also about money. And if we should not in any way support, we should punish those in charge, the people and the structures responsible. So I think it was time yesterday, but today it's really, really important that we move forward when it comes to the sanctions. And we have to use all the tools in the toolbox we have, and we haven't done that yet.
And Robert, what's your opinion? I mean, did you read this text and you found, I mean, the best you could expect?
I know it by heart already.
Oh, you know it by heart.
But there's a little to read.
Not so many people in Europe,
yes,
I
but,
believe.
You know, we are obliged to know this text.
Yes, we do.
Yes, of course, it's a declaration. What I would like to see, and I fully agree with you, I would like to find concretes in this kind of text. I wonder what kind of sanctions will be implemented, how broad they will be. Democratic opposition in Belarus expects that they will be broad, and that's not a case so far. I want to remind you, 88 people in 2017, there was more than 170 people in incomparable situation to what is happening today. Because today, Lukashenka is killing people. He is creating somehow a concentration camp of Belarus. So it's a completely different situation. But what I expect of Europeans, of our community, is a solidarity. We should understand that this is not only about independence and sovereignty of Belarus. This is about independence and sovereignty of all of European nations. Because if Putin will feel that he can invade Belarus, he will do it today. But tomorrow he can do the same thing to Lithuania, Poland, other parts of Ukraine, and so on and so on. This is our common goal, to stop this last dictator of Europe acting.
Karin, Sergey, Robert, you imagine, I mean, this operation was conducted because of one man. It's Roman Protasevich. He was hijacked. He was arrested, he went through interrogations and most probably torture. Yesterday he was on TV, on Belarusian state TV, somehow sending a message. I don't believe, I mean, it's true. I mean, he looked absolutely under huge stress, and it is. So, may I ask you, having a sentence or two, what you would tell to mother and father of Protasevich, Roman Protasevich, who is now in terrible situation. But we're politicians, sometimes we have to create a kind of hope, to support this hope, and of course, to employ everything possible to change the situation. Karin.
Our hearts are with him and his family these days, and we will continue the struggle to see him free, and I hope that will happen very, very soon. But also to all other prisoners in Belarus who we don't have the names on. We will fight, and we will fight tomorrow and the day after, and we will not give up.
Thank you so much. Sergey.
I think it's important to emphasize what we've been trying to do all along. I mean, European Parliament is the one who, maybe of all European institutions, the most passionate, not just the most courageous, but the most passionate institution about democracy and democracy in Belarus. And when we meet with people here in Europe, I tell them all the time, they gave us a chance to experience real heroes. And Roman is another hero, and I want to thank his parents for bringing him up this way, of a person of courage and person of principle. So thank you.
Thank you, Sergey. Robert.
Yeah, Roman's parents are in Poland, and we're trying also to help them and to give any help and aid we can. But what I would say is sorry, because we did not deliver. Because people trusted that they live on the continent which is safe for them. And politicians are to protect those people, and we did not deliver. This was a Polish plane. This plane has EU flag on it. And we, as Karin said, it may happen to everyone. Not only to this 26 years old young man, but to everyone. And this is our obligation. So we should learn from that, and we should be stronger from Sunday every day on. And remember that today it happens to Protasevich, tomorrow it can happen to any citizen of Europe.
And it also happens to his girlfriend, his partner.
Yes.
We should not
Fiancé.
forget about that, his fiancée, who is also now under a tremendous stress, and we should also feel and express solidarity to her.
I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, to Robert, to Sergey and Karin for this very short but very sincere and very thoughtful exchange on the situation in Belarus. And we will stay in touch because, I mean, the fight is not over. That's why we say, Żyje Belarus,
Żyje.
Żyje Belarus.
Żyje, and see you next time.